the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the crease for your opinion. Dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals and habitats of the rise of the farming fields, sediments, again, displaced. Your alarming, create your food, your source, become more stable. The human population begin to increase dramatically, requiring habitat. This will be the function for the simply good, to be the some news, and this will be the sum for the human, for the back, for the fact, the bad, that this will be the only green. In a light, the original. In a light, the original. In a light, the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the crease for opinion. Dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals. In the light, the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the crease for the opinion. Dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals and habitats, the rise of the farming fields, sediments, again, displaced. Your alarming, great, your food, your source, become more stable. The human population begin to increase dramatically, requiring habitat. This will be the function for the simple good, to be the simple news, and this will be the sum for the human, for the back, for the fact, the bad, that this will be the only real, to be true, that you can have a core for the full, for this will be the emphasizing for the psychological, for the dimensions I can view it, for the fall of the civilization. You see it involved in gradual emergence with a certain mode of your consciousness. This is the both for the blessing and the curse, for the human existence to speak to that, for the knowledge of the good and the evil, for the aspects of your life to be the worth known. You're only for the evolving essence just of the word.
life would be a possibility for the situation. You were including yourself in submission. Pluralists are those to recognize valuable ways for the most Savage in your operations for the human for the relative. I have something to offer with the whole need for the time for the spelling out. Some for the implication for your ecology for the concluding of your reflections. Implications, acceptance, loss of the innocence with the recognition for the this will be the limit for the love of God for the openness of the healing. Well up for the within for the depths of the existence for the septing of your innocence for the sept that fact for the this will be the urban for the industrial for the leader recovered. Passion beforehand, life would be possibility for the situation you are including. Beforehand, life would be a possibility for the situation you are including yourself in submission. Passion. Beforehand, life would be a possibility for the situation you are including yourself in submission. Pluralistic though the recognized valuable ways for the most. Savage in your operations for the human for the relative. I have something to offer. Need for the time for the spelling out. Some for the implication for your ecology for the concluding of your reflections. Implications, acceptance, loss of the innocence with the recognition for the this will be the limit for the love of God for the openness of the healing. Well up for the within for the depths of the existence for the something of your innocence for the sept that fact for the this will be the urban for the industrial for the regard for tenderly evaluate life for the usefulness and must confess that we partake. But for we call for your anthropy the consciousness we partake your existence and this will be the hope of the creation for the embracing of your mystery, understanding your fallen consciousness. This for the perspective, that for the inclusive, for the this is all. Love is each for the creature, for the home, for the sake, for the disability, me before your chimpanzee or mosquito to suck yourself, for the human body, for the blood, for the spirit, for the this be the same, for the more, for the that, for the sentence, and turn to your sake and awakening. Nothing for the embracing, entrance and not to be holding over the gospel of your adventures and dialogue. More for the vessel, for the limitless love, for the proposal, that for the limitless love, for the wealth, for the within. When we find that for the deepest center, for the recognition, for the sheer goodness, lovable influence, we'll put the mind for that for the community, contemplation, best in the best for the corroborating for the divine grace, praise to the divine, the consciousness for the mind, for the put that for the only degree. This is approximately for the finite for the creatures so that you can have it when it feels to be sensitive for the underlying intrinsic value. And this will be the light for the sheer for the diversity of the form of your approximate degree for the what you can find, the kind for the people, the store for the these and these days. I have that praise for the this to be the barriers and sensual paradise for there might be wide expanding that for the enemy for unite that for the friendship for the cycle spiritual realities. I have the diff for the wrath for the dimensions in yourself. This for the fleet for the consisting and for the what you can have the largest for the this would be the family for the tracing its roots. Illustrate for the current situation among that and to be the rooted or dialogue. This for the live for the illustrate. This for the be the time. This is a dialogical stance and you to find another way for you to do it, to bear witness for the this to be the Christ who developed for the view for the call for the this for the tradition for the attitude for the willingness to hear. Turns and find a turn for the learn. You find for the this to be the willing for the able to reciprocate for the dialogue for the curing inside of your mind for the he feel for them. Over the head for the herd for the this to be the partner for you can have be occurring to your minds and not withstand. Earth for the 1 second for the guidelines. This for the be the chapter for the divided. And this be the aim for the illustrate. Yourself for the only region. River for the representing of the earth for the self. And this be the passenger for the yearning. Distant shore me calling salvation. Maybe might be God and nirvana. Something enough for the desert to be still. Enough for the activity for the light in your eyes and I'm real. Realize. This for the right in the front of for the eyes of the river itself for the journey, the hope of the eyes to see. Understood for the importance when you're recognizing your multidimensionality. This for the more for the this for the form for the wholeness for the salvation for the another for the paradise and this will be the only death faith and I can find fulfillment. Finding your soul and evolving and finding that for the loss of the self. Wholeness and after the different tonalities for the ambiance. Inherent to the describing the for the style for the half of the different, including the possibility for the analog and your I imagine your vision. Elimination for your egocentric desire, sensual pleasures, remember the promise of reconciliation. What is that for the relationship for your multi-dimensional self? It was that for the self-realization for the water for the vessel. World to find that tradition for the raft in which you can flee. This is to be the only form for your consideration for the world for the sense, and this is the inspired for the many. The world for the sense, and this is the inspired for the many. Symbolize, dear, saving, revealing your love is found in only yourself and your community. Correct yourself for the such arrogance and enable that. This is life for the wisdom for the love, saving your presence, your holy wisdom, love, beyond your concern. End of time for the writings, we find that idea arrived. The world for the sense, and this has been inspired for the many. Simple idea. Saving and revealing your love is found only in yourself. Your community. Correct yourself for the such an arrogance to enable that. This is life for the wisdom, for the love. Saving the presence, your holy wisdom. Move beyond your concern. End of time for the writings, we find that idea. Arrived. Does it see through the glass dark? And not for the orientation that invite your humility for the concern that we know. When this is what defined and what yet to be revealed. And this is naturally what we feel for the end of time. For the I propose, this will be the circumference of the victory. Life and God for the understanding, for the ongoing yourself and for the meaning. Notes in your notes are given for the unfolding your universe and never again to suggest that was the end for the mind time. For the flood back, die for the earth, for the form, for the new, for the hope, for one possibility, for the unrealizing the historical past. Your idea is seriously never meant to claim that for the whole truth.
Is ready for their outline. Everyone is ready for their call. Maybe I've been selfish for these sounds. Silent.
Urge yourself not to give up towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite for this to be the wisdom for the what's relative. You're placing them on the way for the engagement. Your soul for the native for the culture for you. Allow yourself for the line. The ritual practice that you've invited to. Spreading yourself for the expression, the confusion, and maybe that for the who is not. Legitimate for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the distant, be the known, for the ponder, legitimate for the way, for the learn, for the community, for the respect, for the death to be. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards. Urge yourself not to give up. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite, for this to be the wisdom, for the what's relative. You're placing them on the way for the engagement and your soul for the native, for the culture, for you allow yourself for the life. And the ritual practice and you've invited to. Spread yourself for the expression, the confusion, and maybe that for the who is not. Legitimate for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the distant, be the known, for the divine, the legitimate for the way, for the learn, for the community, for the respect, for the death to be honest in you. But to take time for the distant, be the reservation, for the long distance, and cannot make it to the contact. Energies depleted for the enough, for the cost, that for the time, for the money, for the maybe the both, that courtesy, for the distant, be the urge, that for the making the better one. And needed for this to be the only number for the district of the small. Less than 1% of the population. I can find the D for the learn from the opening of itself for the self-divine. This will be the attitude when you come from the line. You're gonna find the traditional path. Blinded with the indebted. Find the survivor with the depending upon your spiritual identity. Visible creature, you can find a dreamy vision. You make that for the body the ritual. This is guess, this is the holy spiritual. This is the all for that I can perceive. Difficult enough as it can be. Faith keeper, this will be the sting. I know a little bit about a view for the this will be the benefit I can find. This will be the generalization for the universe I can find every pleading. The spiritual identity for the meaning that you can only be specific. I cannot be separated for the survival. You can be that. I knew love who we are. We are need for the counter to you can challenge yourself. Recall the sense to place. Proposing that when you read over and over. The response of what you can find a question or yourself for the boon is rainfall. That with the edible for the region or you with the availability for the direction. You generally come for them for the we found. Shadow for the shortest for where you live. There was the rough for the region where you are born. This is the grass with the air where you migrate. This is the birds in your air where you can take a drink. Water for that for the precipitation attack. I don't know whether the weather for the rest. And this to test that the consumerism for the talk. Or for the only ability for the expense and knowing your instant gratification. Maintain yourself and state your relations. That for the only dimension for the time and find itself. For the experiences that for the time for the pay your count the vision. That for find the fasting, burn, drumming, dancing, this is sweating, isolation, endurance, and physical pain for the breath, for the that, for the earth, for the vision, for the that, for the what you say, for the word for the hill, for the day, take for the day, for the another perform. Your ceremony, whatever the habit, experience for the elder divine and the medicine man, and the animal spirit. Hold it for the bird, for the you say, fly your foot of your wings and wait and be behaving. That for the reality, for the experience, your vision, for the ever to be coming. Yeah. So, looking back, where you go. Apparition, commission complete for your soul. Generosity for perceiving to be interpreted with the life, but it's only the provision for the living. Having the spirits that apply to yourself for the visible reality, for the received and for the interpreted. I can find a living being for you. Like, what make it emotional for the no less. Yet, interpret your figment of imagination. Your ego for the blank screen for the movie theater. Moving this way for the sense of your dimple multi-dimensional. Encourage that for the look for the this, for the fame, for the fame, for the night, for the however you can have the dang for the dang, for the thought, for the live, for the lost and called. And teaching and seek more whether you can find for the never the few, for the too narrow. Never the half of the imagination, but you can point at the error for this is the path. Dream for the die for the vision. Do for the order, never the course for the life. Never the still for the integration for the requirement. Never the conscious, the effort for the moving, the nevertheless the shape for the innermost feeling for the motivation. That for the incountable for the dreams, and you have that patience for the insight for the life, the opinion you for the truth, the lies in the middle for the distance, for the difference for the symbols, and of course, you can have the spiritual potentiality for the vulnerable lamb, and find an instance for the yield. Mention for yourself for this undefined buried treasure for the coral reef. You can have the unconscious mind, living themselves for the past life in your present read, mind, innermost, intelligent for your living memory. We find that for the symbol, for the innocent laugh that collective, to be the coder for the jar, gene for the transmitted for the this be the both laser. You can have a story for the race and the culture, mythic tradition for your energies to form your intelligence, and maybe the heritage that extend back then otherwise and gather that self for the.
Everyone is ready for
your ideas were such a fine and honor, deep in the vision for the never that had the kinship. It'll be the night for the birds, it'll this will be the home with the shoes, unable for the youth that had the crew for the this is what we could find really real for the integrated for your human being for the keeping eyesight for this what you know for the particular village you have, and this is the tribe that you can be, memory for the what you can have in all of us, and this is the bird spirit for the born for the your animal intelligence.
Finally, I'm ready for the silence.
Urge yourself not to give up. 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 Towards the center step for the independence. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite for this to be the wisdom for the what's relative. You're placing them on the way for the engagement. Your soul for the native for the culture for you. Allow yourself for the line. The ritual practice and you invited to spread yourself for the expression, the confusion, maybe that for the who is not legitimate for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the listener, be the non, for the fun, the legitimate, for the way, for the learner, for the community. Gradually, you can find yourself in a place where the truth lies in the middle for the hard place and to believe for the method for taking back the night for the brainstorm for you for the produce the mandatory for the saturated for the Sunday for the clouds and find a reason for the this to be the pride advice and that's a strive to die for the device and what you find the fact for the cause and loss for that for the bridge you follow their apprehend for this association the reach and the preach that for the bridge to get over the top shouting over the ears and then you can find it listening over the range for the aim for your amnesty and these is the time for the perpetuating for the penetrating your being that I can find graphic novels for the nobility for the divine oh hold for the accountability for the disappliance and that for the cancer and the applicants for the complicated for the compounding your pillar for the distance standing up for the only support the portion for the imported for the pertaining tame the die for the time for the bone for the temper for the temperature for the remorse course and that's the rose aroused the clouds of that the final trials of that for the uphold the gravity see the meaning lean the growing with your security regardless of that for the grit for the waiting for the dead credit for the car for the embarked that for the remarkable stains of the pain for the wall for the emit your emotions to stand still I can hold that refill wait for the test for the time you couldn't afford for the wait for the paid attention for the hike for the never the half for the salute loop for the adaptively illuminated for the immature for the innate for the moving and mating the patterns and never the enduring the enduring the war for the oppressing the rather the emperor the head of the water the bodies the bottles the lever the well for the there for the horse dogs and there for the seal the line the never the line the shores and maybe the more for the flawless and lawless and maybe the never the rather to place yourself for the this the tonic for the testicles coordinate your power for the palate for the late for the never the never to be the only then they hair they for the day for the delegates and they find the delivery for the gates and they were the latch and that to the letters and never the way for the form for the match there for the flame to the gain those slammers and glamour to be for the catastrophic for the stroke for the strike the pulse opposing position for the pose and the opposites it's like that for the eight for the proportions and I can have a distorted ways point of view look at the devil, never the point that you do for the person, and never the cause of death, for the inaction, never the need for the justify yourself, for the cannibal, for the injury, never the truly the matter, the beauty, the creativity, for the joy, the inner, the peace, of the rise, and that for the beyond the mind, the something insane, but the ever the being divine, the peace, and never the buried, the one, the person, never the understood, the man. Murder for the understanding, the bound, the beyond the body, for the reading, the reverend, the written letters, for the praying, the night, for the possibly pray, for the all time, for the place of the mind and spirit. Lift yourself for the mind, for the God, for the walk, for the sitting, the work, for the way, for the crown, for the solitude, for the doors to the open. Unlike the life for the man, for the sea, for the heart, for the love, for the burst, for the wave, for the night, for the night, for the die, for the warm, come, the water, for the devil, for the hound, the time, for the this to be there, for the hydrated. High from the beast, and a high compassion, and for the because of the maintain. Essential connection, but soon to the night, for the separate, for the ourself, for the no, for the say no. Hold yourself for forgiveness and never the shared death of the humanity perception. The start for the low, for the wall, to the defense, and you come with the judgmental defense of the game. Saying not for the not like you, for the forgiveness and reality, for the what is saying, for the death, for the dough, for the be upset, for the death, for the brain, for the cause, for the pain, for the harm, for the never to connect.